Hi TK squad, it's Graham here. I just thought I would just take a few minutes out just to have a wee chat. Basically, KK and I were talking the other night, and she was asking me, how do you feel about moving to Uganda, and what changes have you experienced? Have you made the right decision? Blah blah blah. And there's a lot of people on House of KK are kind of asking that as well. But she was basically saying, how do you feel about it? What's your pros? What's your cons? What's your benefits? What's your concerns? And we had quite a little bit of chat around about it, to be perfectly honest. And she said, that might be a good idea actually, just to let TK squad have an insight into what you're thinking and how you're finding it, etc. Because we do get a lot of comments. We get a lot of comments about, have you made the right decision? Are you sure you've made the right decision? Why did you leave the UK? And to be fair, we will take a bit of a separate video on that at some point in the very near future, just to cover a lot of the reasons why we left. But KK thought, and I thought it might be an idea just to discuss with everybody exactly how I'm finding it, exactly how I'm finding the transition, etc. And I have to be honest, it was a really, it wasn't a difficult decision. KK and I made a decision, to be honest, about when we were in Dubai on holiday in August 2022. We kind of decided, well, her and I are really serious about each other, and she was really serious and I was really serious about what our life plan would look like from there on in. So we had a good chat about it. We looked at all the advantages and all the disadvantages. We looked at our finances. We decided this is really what we wanted to do. And obviously we're obviously building the apartment block as well too, which, to be honest, played a huge part in our decision making as well too. But we'll cover that in a bit more detail. So for me, it was what I'm finding is that I must admit I am really enjoying it. Right, I had a bout of illness there for a month when I was really unwell, and to be fair, that wasn't a nice feeling, because I thought, oh God, this is really not good, and I wasn't quite sure exactly how well I was, if I'm being absolutely honest. But as it turned out, the doctors helped me and I got better. And I would never really want to go through that again, because that kind of bacterial infection that I caught was really, it just floored me. It really just floored me. It just drained of all my energy, really. And that wasn't a pleasant time. And we've been living really quietly ever since, to be perfectly honest, as I kind of really take the steps to fully recover. But I have to say, I'm generally really enjoying being in Uganda. I have to be absolutely honest. I mean, it was a big step. It was a huge decision to kind of uproot and leave a place that I'd lived my whole life. But in terms of settling in, I think we're settling in, bar that illness that I had, and God willing, as I say, that doesn't happen again. I think it's really good, and I'm really enjoying it. And I really want people to understand that as part of TK Squad. I don't want people necessarily worrying about me or saying that, you look unwell, blah blah, why don't you just head back to the UK? But I have to be honest, it is really, I mean, for the weather alone, if I'm being absolutely honest, I mean, the weather is just idyllic. Although, if I'm being absolutely honest, there are some days that I wish it was just a wet and miserable and windy and cold Scottish day, that you could get some real fresh air into your lungs. You get a real wrap up, get the right clothes on and go a walk along a shorehead or go a walk in the countryside. So to be honest, I do miss that now and again, because there is a monotony about it being unbroken sunshine, 25 degrees. It's actually a bit hot today. It's about 30 degrees today. But but generally speaking, right, the weather just makes everything so much easier. It makes you more interested in getting out and about. and getting outside. You know, it gives you energy to get up in the morning, to be honest. As I say, there is a bit of a monotony about it because you wake up to the same thing every morning. But having said that, the weather alone is one reason for moving. And if anybody's thinking about it, then, you know, the people of Uganda are so lucky that they have such, you know, fantastic weather day in, day out, even during rainy season. Although we do get some horrendous thunderstorms at night, to be perfectly honest. We had one the other night and it is really, really loud. But so I'm enjoying that, I'm enjoying the weather. The other thing that is really noticeable, right, is that the people are really, really friendly. I mean, I'm a pretty gregarious guy at the best of times, and I say hello to everybody and I speak to everybody, and as I'm walking down the street, you know, I'm a bit of a novelty still because there's not many white people, to be honest, in and around the area that we live. But the people are so friendly, I have to be honest, right? And if you say hello to them and you give them a big smile, you generally get a big smile and a big hello back. So that's another bonus. I generally feel safe. Now, having said that, right, we're as careful here as we would be in any big city, whether we're in Western Europe or North America or wherever, right? I mean, we don't kick about in dodgy areas in the middle of the night. In fact, to be honest, unless we're going out socially, we really don't walk out much after dark. But that's just sensible, to be fair. But generally, I find the people to be really, really friendly. I find them to be very approachable. I get the odd shout, Mzungo, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I get the odd, and I get some people, a lot of people approach me looking for money. And to be fair, if I'm in a position I can help, I like to do that as well. But that's not in any way threatening or in any way dangerous. So and even during the elections, you know, and there was so much bad press because I read it back in the UK about rioting, blah, 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 and people get killed. And to be fair, there was pockets of that. But having said that, we never saw any of that. To be honest, apart from losing the internet for 4 or 5 days, I hated that, by the way. I hate that. Don't ever do that again. And sometimes the electricity cuts off. That could be a pain in the neck, if I'm being honest. But even during the election, I never felt threatened. I never felt anything other than safe. And we went about our business, and we just didn't go into any areas that were likely to be an issue after dark. But I'd be the same in Glasgow. Exactly the same in Glasgow. So the people are a big, huge bonus, and particularly the people that we live round about. The area we live in I really, really like as well. Within about a 15-20 minute radius, we've got everything that we want. It's a kind of more upmarket area maybe than other places that we could have chosen. The infrastructure's a lot better, you know, the roads are a bit decent, there's curbs, pavements, etc. But there's also within 20 minutes, there's everything that we need. There's all the little shops, there's a couple of little restaurants that we like to frequent. And to be honest, all that's more or less within walking distance, to be perfectly honest. We've got this fantastic resort that you've seen us take, you've seen us use. So the area that we live in is it's just a tiny little enclave in Kampala, but it's got everything that we actually need. And if we do have to drive, you know, we're only 20-25 minutes away from the bigger Arena Mall and a lot of the decent malls. And we're not that far away from Tia's school if we have to drive as well too. I'll talk about education in a wee minute as well. So love the weather, love the people, love the area we live in, and we've really got a nice little apartment that we set up. Is that our forever home? Of course it's not. We'll be looking at doing something different in the future. But it's adequate and it's absolutely fine and it's safe. And I like the people that live round about us as well, so it's all really, really good. I think one of the big pluses, if I'm being absolutely honest, and I don't know what to stray into anything other than just our personal life, but you do have, although you look into Uganda from the outside, you think that people don't have freedom because you think it's been ruled by one guy for 40 years, the army's involved, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is actually something different, to be honest. And you have a certain freedom. You know, we're not curtailed in any way in where we go, how we go, where we come and go. We're not curtailed at all. And to be honest, a lot of the red tape and the bureaucracy that ties you up in the UK it still exists here, but it seems to be a bit easier to, an example I'm thinking about is when we applied for visas for when we should stay. Now admittedly KK had someone she knew in there that helped, to be fair, but you seem to have a lot more freedom just to get these things done, to get permission to do things. Now, and a good example would be our apartment. When our apartment was being built, yes, we got loads of inspections, etc. We got the planning people, we had all the housing people, because you have to build it to a certain spec, and that was fine. And then you have to deal with the water board, the electricity board, etc. But it just seems as if that's a bit easier to do, right? It seems a bit less bureaucratic, if I'm being honest, a bit less administrative. And because I'm just imagining if we were doing the project that we were doing in the UK, one, it would be extremely expensive. Don't get me wrong, we've spent a lot of money on this project, but compared to what you would have spent in the UK, it would have spent a lot of money, and you'd have gone through hoops with admin people and bureaucracy and department this and department that. So there is a lot more freedom in my view, right? We got our visa easy, we come and go as we please, we're law abiding, so we've absolutely nothing to worry about, although I do try to avoid the traffic cops. That's another thing I don't like, the traffic cops, but anyway. So I just wanted to mention that. The other thing that I really, really like about Uganda, Tia wouldn't agree with this, but I do like the education system. Now the education system to me is probably where the UK's education system was 25 years ago. And I don't mean any disrespect by that. In fact, that is a compliment in my view, because 25 years ago, Scottish education led the world, and now it doesn't for whatever reason. But here in Uganda, right, and to be fair, right, you pay for it, and you pay handsomely for it, I have to be honest. It's expensive. We've put Tia into an international school, which follows the Cambridge assessment, follows the British curriculum, takes her right up through secondary school to S4, S5 and A levels and up to there, and then she goes to university if that's what's going to happen. But I have to be honest, I think because of that, perhaps the education system, in my view, is second to none. Now, in saying that, it's difficult for her, and you all know she's struggling a little bit, right? It would appear the international school's more of a college approach. It feels like she gets more lectures than she does maybe hands-on teaching, although I think that's changing a little bit as she goes into S4. But there is real rigour applied to her studies, and there is assessments. So they have mid-term assessments, stroke exams, and end-of-term exams. And to be perfectly honest, whether you like it or not, whether it's rote learning that they do, in my view, that assessment exam is the absolute ultimate challenge for them. And that's what determines how well they've got on. And my understanding is that in the UK now that's different. There's continuous assessment, exams play a lesser role, etc. But the exams and the exam results are really, really key. But it's also very, very challenging for them. And that's the bit that she's struggling to adapt to, if I'm being absolutely honest. Because she never went through this rigour and these sort of challenges and this sort of suite of exams that she's having to face here. And as you know, she didn't do too well in her end of term ones last year. But she has been working hard, God help her and God love her. So fingers crossed she has some more exams in about 4 weeks. But I like the education system. I like the fact that the schools have rules and regulations. I like the fact that they've strict guidelines for uniform. They've strict guidelines for appearance, how you wear your hair and the length of hair, etc. And they have quite rigorous and challenging behavioural rules as well too. And that's another thing she's struggling to adopt to as well, because it was very laissez-faire back in the UK. So I like the education system. I really, really do. I think it's very challenging. I think it's very rigorous. But I think if she takes it seriously, or any kids take it seriously, and they devote this couple of years, S4, S5, to their studies, then I think it'll stand them all in good stead. So I like that. I like the education system. I really, really like it a lot. What don't I like? So, to be honest, up to date, so far, everything's really, really positive. Everything is positive. It helps actually that, well, I'll come on to that in a minute. What don't I like? I've got to tell you, there's one thing I'm struggling to adapt to, right? And that's the food. Now, people that from Uganda that are listening to this video are going to say, what? You're struggling to the food? It's abundant, there's so much. And you're absolutely right. There is so much abundant fruit and veg, etc. And it's really, really cheap, right? And generally, food is generally cheap. But the fruit and the veg is abundant. You can buy it anywhere and it's relatively cheap. The one thing that's kind of disadvantaging us just now is that KK's the cook, and because she's so busy, right, I'm having to try and step up a wee bit into that role, into cooking. And I'm not really good at it, because what I find is that with Ugandan food, you really have to make it from scratch. You really have to make it from fresh. Gone are the days where I would bring home a Marks and Spencer's or a Tesco ready meal, or I'd bring home some processed food, or I'd bring home pizza, or I'd bring home whatever, right? I would stick it in the oven, I would stick it in the microwave, and then we would serve it. Because of our lifestyle, because we were both working, because we were busy, because children, etc. So you adapt that. But you can't get that in Uganda, so you can't buy pizza really, right? You can't buy ready meals to stick in the microwave. So everything's done from scratch. So we're not, one of the reasons I'm struggling is because we're not very organised at that yet. But we're going to make a commitment to that. I'm going to make a commitment to that as well. And once we get these apartments up and away, then it'll be easier. But you do need to plan your food, right? You do need to plan, because you need to actually make it from scratch. But even when we're making it, so what we tend to do is we tend to eat out a bit, right? And we've had a couple of little local restaurants that we've found that are really, really nice, and we really enjoy them, etc. But they serve Ugandan local food. There's a couple of places, one called Caramel and one called Kafisi that we've gone to. And we used to frequent Caramel quite a lot. And to be fair, although it was local food, it was done quite different, and there was a bit of chicken, there was a bit of beef, there was a bit of goat, but it was done quite different. I used to actually enjoy the food in there. But if you're going out a family of 4 plus having sodas, etc., you're spending 300,000, every time. So to be perfectly honest, we couldn't sustain that. So we're cooking food from scratch, and we're cooking good, wholesome Ugandan food. But therein lies the rub for me, because I'm not very partial to it. So what I like about Ugandan food is that I like the pilau rice. I love it, especially if it gets served with those chunks of beef in it. I love that. I love the greens, and I kind of like, there's a dish that the Three Honeys does. It's beef. It's kind of boiled beef, but it's really, really soft. It's really, really nice. They gave me chicken the other day because they'd no beef and it wasn't quite so nice. But I struggle with like posho. I'm not so keen on that. Matoke, I can take or leave it. G-nut sauce, nah, it does nothing for me. They'd serve things like yams, pawpaw. I'll be honest, I'm not so keen on that. I like plantain if I can find something that it goes with. But traditional Ugandan food kind of leaves me unmoved, if I'm being honest. And that is an issue. It is an issue because you got, well, obviously I need to eat, but to make that is difficult, it's time consuming, and plus the fact I don't particularly like it. So we need to start making stuff a bit for fresh and stuff that we want. So we're buying in chicken, we're buying in beef, we like the mince, we like rice dishes, we like pasta with all that, so we're kind of trying all that as well. So the food for me is a bit of a challenge. The food for me is, KK loves it, to be fair. I mean, she just loves it. She loves goat meat, and she gets this goat meat stew, which is okay, but the sauce is so strong for me. It's really, really too much flavour. And I thought I like the goat in caramel because they do it kind of roasted, and they do it in a kind of dry way, you know, a side dish, so you can sort it. But as I say, caramel, we can't go out and spend 350,000 every night. That's not sustainable. So apart from the food, so generally, right, just to kind of wrap this up, I'm loving it, right? Now I've got my health back, and that was worrisome. Thank God for that. And I pray to God that, you know, I'm spared for many years of good health, as I do for everybody. But we moved here, big, huge decision. Love the weather, love the people. The people are so friendly. Like the freedom that we have. Looking forward to the future without a doubt. Love the education system, I think that's fantastic. Don't like the food. KK loves it here. Happy wife, happy life. Tia will come to like it once she understands, you know, the seriousness of her exams. She's kind of plunged into this. I've got to study. And then because I've been ill, we haven't actually been getting out and about as much as I wanted, or as much as we wanted at the weekends. But now I'm better, we'll be able to do that. So she can have the weekends off and relax, and we'll take in some resorts and swimming and all the rest of it. But no, she absolutely loves it. Zaire seems to be thriving, to be honest. I mean, he's just fine. And he's brown as a wee berry, you know what I mean? I think he really loves the sunshine. It really, really suits him. So the whole family is absolutely fine. So as I say, to kind of put everybody's mind at rest, I really think we've made the right move. I think in terms of lifestyle, I think in terms of the places that we go to, the places that we see, and we're just starting this adventure. Once we get these apartments away, then that will actually free us up a lot more time to relax. But it'll be a little bit less stressful for KK for sure. And actually, I think the world is our oyster, to be perfectly honest. So I don't want anybody worrying about me, right? I'll persevere with the food. I might even begin to like posho and beans. Oh, I don't mind the beans actually, I don't mind the beans. So there's another thing that I like. But I don't want anybody worrying about me. We're really, really happy. I think we've settled in really, really well. We want to become a kind of living, breathing part of the community. I mean, I'm a well-kent face already around our neighbourhood. I mean, everybody it used to be everybody looked at me, but now they kind of just say hello and move on. Because there's not many white faces around, there's not many expats. In fact, to be honest, I've maybe seen one or two, and that's all. But I like that. I don't mind, as I say, I'm quite gregarious and quite friendly with people, and that makes a big difference. So I've ranted on long enough. Hope you've enjoyed this. I hope that's given you a little bit of insight into how we're thinking, into how we're feeling, and I just pray to God that we just continue in the same vein, and that we just enjoy our life in Uganda, and He spares us, you know, that we can just enjoy a fantastic lifestyle. So that's it. Thank you very much. We're off to get something to eat now, okay? I'll speak to you all again soon. Take care. Bye.